Okay, here we go on the second episode of this Almoravid playthrough. We're on the late spring turn of 1086, which is halfway. This will be at the end of this. Will be halfway point of the scenario. So we pick up with a lot of sieges going on, 4 going on right now. 3 for the Christians as they're trying to push their way deeper into the Muslim Spanish territory. So we'll start off with the cards that we drew. First for the Christians, baggage parapet. They hold in battle, cancels Muslim camp attack, and if the Christians retreat, they pay 1 asset per lord to skip spoils and service shift. So I don't remember this bit being in Nevsky. Maybe the spoils bit, but I swear that you didn't roll to shift their service marker. I could be wrong about that, but I don't remember that. Actually, when I read it, I was surprised because I don't remember that being a thing, but it's nice to have now. Though, of course, they don't intend to be retreating anytime soon. And the other one is surprise. I like this one. I wish I had it last turn. May play upon march to an enemy stronghold where no lord. Place 2 siege there, then storm with walls -1. So that's a really nice card. The only problem is I don't know where we're going to use it because we're at a bottleneck pretty much everywhere. Like, the only way to get to the next place up here is to go to Zaragoza, which, I mean, yeah, it has to be with no lord, so it's not useful there. And then down here, you're going to go into Toledo, which is already conquered, so it would have been really nice to have that card last turn, but still. And then the Almoravid player has Almoravid, or Almoravid. Frontier Raiders. Unless the specific card is played, place ravaged at 2 unravaged enemy locales adjacent to friendly locales. So that's nice. I'm assuming that friendly locales can be conquered in Reconquista places. It doesn't have to literally just be up here. Because if that's the case, that's why I think it says friendly and enemy, and not another word, because actually we could use that to mess with their supply lines a little bit. And then Spear Wall may play in battle any one round 2 Muslim lords armored foot units have armor +1 against horse melee. So it's a little bit confusing, the wording, but it's 1 round 2. I don't know why it's round 2 and not round 1, I guess. Or maybe that's what they mean. Round 1 is the archery fire, and then round 2 is the actual melee, not like the second round of combat. Anyways, I'll figure that out before I play it. But in the end, it's 2 good cards. I like how the cards only add. They don't really necessarily give you too much to think about. It's just a little addition. A nice little thing you can use but don't have to use. So I've stacked the decks and everything. I won't go over that too much, but I will say one thing I didn't realize that is something in this game that is not in the others is when you ravage, you shift on every odd one you play. So the first one, the third one, the fifth one, so on and so forth, that you place shifts a service marker. So I'm assuming, and I'll look it up to be sure, I'm assuming that means in each Typhus Lord's home region. So, it's not like if I place 1 here, and then 1 here, and then 1, and then another one, that third one moves whoever. I think it's in Zaragoza, for instance, if I place 1, then that would move the Typhus Lord in Zaragoza's by 1. And then if I place a third one, it move it again, I'm assuming that's what it is. It's not like you just get to move a random one. That wouldn't really make sense. But anyways, I'll double check. But one of the things I didn't think about was up here, Sancho can place a ravage marker where he's at, and he can place other ones as well. And that would, because it's the first one, would shift the service marker of Almundir, who already, remember, shifted his one last time in order to get away, move, because he didn't have any provender to start with. So that could have, that's another, I think that move was really good by the Christians last time, but would the Muslims have made that decision if they would have actually known how the game is played. Probably not, I guess. Because I think when it's moved here, he has to pay or disband, and if it's moved past, you're immediately like removed from the game permanently. I think that's how it works. They have the coin to do it, but what they were hoping was next turn it would go here, they would pay the coin to move it here. Not they'd pay the coin here and now they're stuck. Next turn they're going to be gone. So anyways, that could actually be a pretty big blow because they're already outnumbered in the Northeast, but now they're going to be extra outnumbered if in that next turn when they get to the summer. So we'll see. But anyways, that's how we start out. We're going to go back and forth like I did last time, and I might just bring you the stuff at the end. Probably won't go through everyone. But we will have some sieges, and I do want to show how that works, since that could be interesting the way these work out. So here we go, Christians first. Alright, so we're in on the second card for the Christians, and they have Alvar, who comes up next, and he and Garcia were both in Tudela, so really debated a lot over this one, but they're going to go ahead and attempt a storm because there are defending forces minus the garrison. Now granted, it is a fortress, what do they call it? Yeah, it is a fortress, so it's a little bit tougher to get through than if it was a town, but they want to break through here pretty quickly. Plus, it's only been one siege turn, though, you say. Well, they have this special thing that says this Lord Storm may go 2 extra rounds. So, we take a look at the battle mat here. I use this because it helps condense space on this very small table. And we'll go through a storm thing here so you guys can see how that works. I can get to change a battery, so hold on. Okay, so back with this now. The forces that Alvar has, here's to take a look at them. They're going to be using these two. Alvar's going to be in the front. In the storm, you can only have one person at a time. There's only one entrance, so you can only climb up. He has the +2 storm rounds, but he's got some okay forces. Unlike this one, you're not, like Nevsky, you don't really have access to ranged, what are they called, missiles, such as bows and crossbows and javelins and all that stuff, unless you have it by capability. I'm assuming that's a historical thing, composition of the forces. The garrisons do, but these guys will not. So they're basically going to get a free shot, and then they'll have melee after that. So we will hop in here. So first up on the fold out, here on the storm side, we skip over most of the stuff and go to missiles. The defenders go first, and it's a half a point for everybody, so that's 2 total hit points. These guys have crossbows, which don't have an effect until a little bit later. Basically, they have a -1 on armor. And do they get to pick who they hit as well? Something about that sounds right. They get to pick where the hits are assigned rather than the other person getting to do that. I think that's correct. Yeah, you get to select the target. Okay, so they have 4 hits. And basically what you do is you try and negate the hits. So the walls will try and negate, the siege equipment basically works as walls. So I think it's on a 1 to 3, the siege walls can block. So you'll roll a die for each one. So the 2 hits, there's a 2 and a 5, it's off camera. So that blocks one of the hits. So one of the hits goes through. You really, I guess you should separate those into crossbows and non-crossbows. So it should be like 1.5 hits of the crossbow and 1.5 hit. I'm not really sure how that's supposed to work when you have the half hits, because it's 2 hits, one of which is blocked. So that leaves 1 hit but I guess, like, well, which hit is it? I guess it would be the crossbows. I'm going to give it as the crossbows because I think that makes sense, but someone can elaborate on exactly what to do in that situation. I read the example of play, I'm going to do the one playthrough. I don't know if I caught it in a situation like this. So then that one hit can possibly be negated by armor, which is protection listed here depending on who. So since it's a crossbow, the defenders will get to select the target. So they could normally in a storm, the armored units have to take the hits first. But I don't know, since it's crossbows, they get to pick. So they could pick the serfs, who are automatically removed. They cannot be, they cannot be routed and then brought back. Militia only have a protection of 1, which is reduced, I think, by 1 by crossbows. I don't know if it's like reduced to a minimum of 1. They could do the men-at-arms, which are 1 to 3, or they could do the knights, which are 1 to 4. I think they're going to do the men-at-arms, because I think that is their best bang for their buck. So they're going to target one of the men-at-arms, the only men-at-arms that Alvar has. And on a 1 to 2, and I'm going to be 1 to 3, it's going to be a 1 to 2. They will block this hit. So let's roll this die here. And it is a 5, so they will not block the hit. And down here on his card, I will move the men-at-arms down to routed on his player board here. So that one has been moved down to the routed. So that's the missiles for the defenders. The attackers don't have any, to my knowledge, because they don't have a capability, and they are not garrisons, so they do not have any missiles. So now we'll go into melee. So all the stronghold defenders will hit first, and then all of the attackers. So you have 3 here. The men-at-arms hit at 1, the militia hit at 1/2. So that's 3.5. And it rounds up, so that's 4 total hits. So those first will go against the siege works. So don't think it matters we can roll them all at the same time. Let me know if you're not supposed to roll them all at the same time. But I'll roll 4. So 3 of them are actually blocked. That's a really good result. A 1, 2, and a 3 there. And then the one from the 5 will make it through. So they'll have 1 hit of those 4 to roll in. And then, once again, they're going to assign this hit to one of their knights. Because that's a 1 to 4, it's blocked. And it's a 6, of course. So that knight is routed. Now the defenders will swing. You can only hit a maximum of 6 hits during this phase. I don't think that's a problem. So let's see. These guys are 1 each. And this guy is a 1/2, and this guy is a 1/2. So that's 2, 3 total hits here. So now those 3 will go against the walls of the castle. I'm pretty sure that the walls are assigned when there's melee. I always was kind of questioning that, because they've already gotten up past the walls. Why are they still rolling on the defense for the walls? And they're already up there, but I don't know. Let me know if that's wrong. I'll check after this battle, but I think that's correct. So they're going to have 3 hits, and they are rolling against 1 to 4 on the walls. Now, the walls are better than the siege works for defending. So all 3 of those are blocked. So it's very unfortunate for the defenders. For the attackers. So now, after that, we go into routed units immediately. So yeah, I understand that. New round, if all attackers or defenders routed. That's not the case. If not routed, it would end, but since they have +2 because of his capability to siege rounds, we can keep going. They are not going to withdraw just yet, and the people inside obviously can't. So we're going to go back around to the top. They can reposition if they want. I think they will, just because he has a knight. So they're going to swap and let Garcia take a swing at this. And now we'll do missiles again. So it's no one was hit for the defenders, so they'll do the same thing of halves. So there's 1/2, 2 total. So they'll roll 2 against the walls of 1 to 3, and they're both blocked. So that's big time. Now we'll go. For the defenders' attack and melee, because there is no missiles, there's no special thing. They don't have any capabilities or anything different from Alvar, so no missiles from the attackers. So they have the same thing of these hits here, half, 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 half. So 2 hits again. And they'll roll those against the walls. They both get through. So now they can choose who defends, and they're going to do the knight and the sergeant. So it's going to be 1 to 4 on this one, and it's going to be 1 to 3 on this one. And they're both blocked. So that was much more successful. So now the attackers, that's 1 for the knights in storm, that is 1 for the sergeants, that is 1/2 for the light horse, that is 1 for the men-at-arms, and that is 1/2 for the serf. So that's 4 total hits. So the 4 hits will go against the walls of 1 to 4, 3 of which are blocked successfully. And so 1 will go in. And they can assign where this hit goes, I believe. Owner assigns hits, yeah. It's tough because I don't really think it matters. Yeah, the militia are more likely to get removed. But they do half the damage. I'm going to take the militia, so on a 1. And they get a 4, so that one is removed. I'm just going to put it back here for now. Because they don't, once they're gone, they're gone. Okay, so now we're on to round 3. If all attackers or defenders lose, if not, and round so far equals the siege marker. So we're not there yet, we're at 3. So this is the last attempt. They're going to keep Garcia there because he took no losses. So now we are at 1.5, so that'll be 2 hits for the bows. They are both blocked by the siege. So now they're going to go to the regular, and that's 1 hit each, so just 3 rather than 4. Those are going to go against the walls, 1 of which is blocked. The other 2 will go onto armor, and they're going to go knights and sergeants. So this one will be 4, and this one will be 3. And the knights actually will get removed. So that's 1 hit. Now the defenders will attack, and that is 1 for the sergeant, 1 for the men-at-arms, and then 1/2 the other one, so 3. Rolling against the walls of 1 to 4. 1 gets through. So they're not going to be able to win this battle. And then that 1 will have to go on to 1 to 3, which is not removed. So that will end the storm. And the attacker will lose. Let's see. Losses, all routes. They roll, failed rolls, remove the units. So these guys don't matter. Their forces just go away because they're in the fort. We'll roll here on a 1 to 4. 2 1 to 4s, actually. All right, well, let me do them 1 by 1. First for Alvar. So it is a 4, so he's good. Let me do Garcia's. It's a 1, so he's okay. And then we'll do this guy, which is a 1 to 3. It's a 2, so he's okay. So they actually keep all their forces, which means this isn't a total bust. And then spoils, which does not happen in service, for a roll of die for each retreating lord. So that is not the case. Nobody retreated. I don't believe. I think they just stopped fighting because they're not leaving the space. So let me know if that's not correct. So we will shift the stuff back up to Dela. But that was obviously not great. It just shows you how hard those fights are, especially without having any capabilities to have melee with. That makes it near to impossible. So that storm is in the book. It'll go over to, because I think the storm takes up the entire card. So basically they had to swing at it, and that was it. So now it'll go over to, once they're fed, it'll go over to the Muslims. So a thick fight. In the end, pretty much everybody goes unscathed. Okay, on the very subsequent Muslim Lord card, I really debated. Almundir came up, and I really wanted to attack with him. He has the supply to do it. I thought about coming up here and attacking Sancho, but the problem with that is now you're isolated in a far northeast corner, and even if you win, the Christian lords could come up from behind and pin you in up there. So I really didn't like that. I decided maybe let's go over here and fight Alvar, but because we're assuming that they used Provender on the last siege, and so they're probably low. That may force them into kind of a funky spot if they run, so they might have to fight, and maybe a fight is good. Really agonized over that decision, decided the best thing to do was just to wait. Really wanted to press the advantage there, but decided not, because unlike in the south, they're outnumbered up here. So if you lose in this fight, you're probably throwing the whole thing. Whereas in the south, you can probably don't have to be afraid of losing one battle, because you can probably recover well. So decided to hold it off up there. The big re-maneuver over here, Al-Mutamid is pulling back around. Wanted to go up here and kind of as a plug, a stopgap for Alfonso, but there's no way through it. So we can sit here, but we want to get around this. So we're going to come this way and try and meet up on this other side here and force something on here. And you can always change, can reverse course. But there was nothing for him really to do where he was, because they didn't want to fight there at this particular moment. Wanted to get the idea is to use our numerical advantage, get everyone together, and then fight. Not fight on even terms when you don't have to fight on even terms, because it would have been a fairly even fight. Maybe even an advantage slightly to the Christians. So if we have the numbers and we can put them together, let's do that. So they're going to try to march around, but they may come back. They're not too worried. There's plenty of stuff in between them. If they can't siege down any of the big cities, because they don't have the numbers. So let them siege a fortress if they want. Who cares? They'll just go up and take Toledo. So they kind of know that's the deal. The one thing, though, Alfonso is going to, on his turn now, going to try and force a surrender in Talavera. So he will roll dice equal to the number, basically the siege number, which is 2 for the city. And it says, if all rolls are less than or equal to siege plus ravage markers, take the stronghold. So I'm guessing that means like each of these has to be 3 or less, not like combined they have to be 3 or less. So each of them has to be 3 or less, because it's 1 ravage marker plus the 2 siege, so that's 3. So they need both of these dice to be 3 or less. It's a 50-50 shot. I think it's worth taking in this situation, because if they can break through here, then the options really open up. Can try and go and maybe fight Abu Allah while he's alone, or advance west. We'll see. But yeah, they need it's a 50-50 shot here, basically. 2 dice. I'll try and get the roll in here to see if they can break through and get a surrender. And they're both 2s. So they do manage to force the surrender in Talavera, which is big. So let's go in here to the inside fold to look at the if conquered. So let me way zoom out here. For a fortress, I believe is what we're attacking here. Yes, for a fortress. It is, if conquered. These, I'm not sure if we actually get to place these or not because we've already conquered the place, but I'll check that afterwards. 1 coin, 1 loot, and 3 provender. So that's it's quite the haul there. And I know, I'm almost positive we'll remove the jihad marker, but I don't think we actually place any conquered because it's Reconquista, but I could be wrong. But anyways, it'll be half a point less. And because of some other ravage markers and stuff, right now we're sitting at 9 to 10.5. So it'll be 9 to 10 if nothing else in this location here. So the only problem is now they're very laden because of all of this stuff that they have, but they might not need to go that far. They might just go to Toledo and camp out. They have to get victory points though. I don't know if I mentioned it or not, but Almoravid was sieging here. But whenever we moved the Almoravid lords back, we get to place a jihad marker. So we placed it there, which relieved the siege. So that was convenient. But yeah, that's big for them because now, first of all, they don't have to try and storm, and also it opens up options for them with the Muslims out of position. So big for them. I got a little bit ahead of myself here. It's because it's surrendered. It's no spoils, so they won't get any of the stuff from it because it was a surrender. Also, I'm not exactly sure. The rule book to me seems conflicting in what to do in a Reconquista typhus with a jihad marker, because some of it makes it seem like you just remove the jihad marker, while other parts make it seem like you place a conquered, you remove it and place a conquered marker. But it's reverting, it's friendly territory, so it says in friendly territory, just remove. But in other places it says when you conquer whatever, remove the jihad, place the conquered. So I'm thinking that it's just remove in Reconquista. I'm going to ask in the forums and see. And people can let me know in the comments as well, but I think it's just remove. In which case, from what I understand, they actually lose half a victory point because they had a ravaged marker there, but now it's for the other side, which is the only thing that makes me think they do place a conquered marker. But then you almost want jihad markers to be placed in Reconquista areas because you can then go around and add conquered markers. So I'm really not sure which one it is. But from what I understand, they're going to go back down half a victory point to 8.5. So I'll look that up. You guys let me know in the comments. Okay, just fast forwarded a few turns. Actually ended up deciding to switch back the strategy down here. So I really wasted a turn, but probably not really. Kind of wasted a turn. As I was shifting Al-Mutamid around, I realized, like, doing the math, it was going to take him a really long time to get through these passes. It's actually quite difficult with supply. You know, before it was like, oh, well, you just can't go this way. Like, you don't have the means to go that way. Whereas in this one, it's like you do have the means to go certain paths. You just have to take longer to do it, you know? So it's like, yeah, sure, you can carry a ton of provender over a mountain pass, but like the time it was going to take him to get supply, make it over here, cross one of these passes in, like it was going to be like 3 cards because unfortunately Al-Mutamid is eating 2 provender a turn. So if you take with 3 command, if you take a 1 command to supply, which gets you 2, well, that's your food for the turn. He doesn't have any built up, so you're basically running through every time all of your food when you move, so you have to supply every single time, which when you start to get up here is no longer really feasible. You can't operate up here with a lack of food. So like it was, you have to almost supply twice because he's combined, they have the carrying capacity to do it. You have to supply twice, and then move once, but then you've eaten half your food, so then you have to do it again. So like it was just such a slow pace. I don't know why I didn't realize this earlier. It's actually quite obvious. Why move two across the mountain pass when you can move the one mobile guy back across? So Abu Allah is making his way back around, and the three are going to meet up here, which is what I should have done from the start. But once again, it's a learning experience, and I think I said this earlier, but it's one of my favorite parts of the game is that I'm so terrible at it, so terrible at managing the supplies. But when you screw up, you know it's your fault because you're like, I didn't plan this well enough. I definitely don't do it as I'm supposed to. I think the idea here is that you build up, you get enough food for a campaign, you go out and fight, and then if you need to, you kind of pick up and go on the fly, pick up food that you need when you're out there already. But I'm pretty much like, we're running out of food at the end of every time you move, which is not great. But anyways, Sancho is going to try to break the siege here with a surrender roll. Actually, I'm going to zoom out a little bit so you can see the dice roll, or see it when it comes in. So he has 2 siege markers and a ravage marker, so it's 3. He needs to roll 3 or less. And it's only one die, unlike 2 earlier, because it is a town, not a fortress. So it's a 50-50 shot on 1 die, and he rolls a 4. Just missed it. So that's one thing from him. It fails, and it's done. So he'll have to try again. All right, wrapping up the turn. Alfonso moves to Toledo. He's probably going to go down here to Calatrava. There's 3 jihad markers there. It's a pretty solid target. They don't have to go through those. The 3 Muslim lords were sitting here, so he would have to go and face them all 3 on 2, which was not exactly a great idea. So he decided to come down here instead, where he's going to next turn. The Al-Mutamid group moved up to Korea, which has a siege marker on it now. Basically what they're going to do is have Abu Allah go up and swap with them. So he'll go up there, and then Al-Mutamid will probably come this way. And I don't know. Honestly, I'll think about it, but they may even try and siege Toledo. It's tough because the timing of it, So like if Alfonso goes first and comes down here, then Al-Mutamid could go first and move over here. Well, then, Alfonso might come back up. If he doesn't, then to bring Abu Allah over, so you have 3, and now you've got them trapped. Literally, they're trapped on this side. That Toledo is like a focal point. So now Alfonso has to think about that. And so anyways, that's just tough because the way you stack the cards, you have like plan A and plan B. Like plan A is this, and then if the opponent doesn't do that, this is plan B. Now, obviously, you can just sit there and think about it for a while, which I'm sure you would do in an opposed game. But I've kind of already got it planned out. Okay, well, if this happens, I'll go this way, and if it doesn't, I'll go this way. And I imagine that's how it would in an opposed game as well. But you kind of have to think on the fly with that because, if they don't do what you're expecting them to do, kind of like a game of chess, then you have to rebound from that. So they may end up besieging Toledo. If they don't go down there, because honestly, Alfonso doesn't feel too bad about an open field battle. They're probably evenly matched, so if they can get they've already got slingers, on Alfonso. So if they can get another good Art of War card maybe on this turn, they might feel really good about it. Of course, they don't know what the Muslims are holding, but 2 on 2, they don't feel too bad about it. So we'll have to see about that. But there could end up being a siege or battle situation here. The other interesting part, victory points, just are with the spring. Into the spring, we remove some ravage markers. So each side removed 2 because of like new growth and stuff. Victory points 9.5 for the Muslims, 7.5 for the Christians. So a 2-point gap, and the Christians definitely see a path to victory here. Basically, they just have to keep things neutral in the south, and then everything go the way they're already going in the north. If things stay the way they are up here, and they just hold their own down here, everything's fine, because they're going to pick up victory points from the 2 sieges here, and they may be able to pull one more off before it's over. So even if they don't take the jihad markers from down here, it's okay. So the big thing to think about is sieging, the Muslims sieging with the ability to place jihad markers. That actually probably would have been the better idea for the Muslims to do, instead of going up here to siege, would to be go here. And then when they get to place this jihad marker, you basically have just undone everything Alfonso just did. I don't believe they're allowed to do it here at Toledo because of the conquered markers. I could be wrong. It could be that they besiege it, and then you place a jihad marker and it's over. If that's the case, the Christians can't let that place get besieged. Because they know every turn there's going to be one placed, because they keep moving back the Almoravid lords. So you just can't let a city fall. I mean, it would defeat the whole purpose of having this situation in the first place, and they would instantly lose the game pretty much, because they would lose 3 victory points and the Reconquista. So that's a 6-point swing. So the game is still, while it's a 2-point gap, still very much, I think, on this current track in favor of the Christians, if they can just hold their own. They can glide into the finish line. But we're at the halfway point here, and we'll go for the first early turn of the summer of 1086.